I saw my daughter-in-law throw a brown suitcase into the lake and speed away in her car. I rushed over and heard soft crying coming from inside. Oh no, please don't be real," I said, shaking as I touched the wet zipper. I pulled the suitcase from the water, ripped open the zipper, and couldn't believe my eyes. What I found inside made my whole body shake like never before in my 64 years of living. But let me tell you how I got here. How a quiet Saturday morning became the scariest day of my whole life. It was exactly 9:30 in the morning. I remember because I had just finished making pancakes and looked at my wall clock, the same clock my grandmother gave me years ago. I was standing in my kitchen looking out the window at Pine Lake. The water was calm and pretty. It was warm outside, the kind of warm that makes your shirt stick to your back even when you're not moving. Then I spotted her. Rachel's blue car came racing down the dirt path, dust flying everywhere. My daughter-in-law, my son Marcus's wife. She was driving so fast, way too fast. The car made angry sounds. Something felt wrong. Very, very wrong. I knew that path well. Marcus and I used to ride bikes on it when he was little. Nobody drove that fast unless something bad was happening. She hit the brakes hard right next to the water. The tires made scary sounds. The dust made me cough through the open window. I dropped my coffee mug. It broke into pieces on the floor, but I didn't even look down. My eyes stayed on her. Rachel jumped out like she was running from a fire. She had on a yellow shirt, the one Marcus bought her last Christmas. Her hair was messy. Her face looked red and wet, like she'd been crying really hard. She opened the back of her car so hard I thought the door would break off. And that's when I saw it. The suitcase. That old brown suitcase I gave her when she married my Marcus. "So you can pack your happy memories," I told her that happy day. How silly I was. How wrong I was about everything. Rachel grabbed it from the car. It looked really heavy. I could tell by how her arms shook and how her back bent. She looked around fast, scared, worried, like she did something terrible. I'll never forget how her face looked. Then she walked to the water. Each step looked hard, like the suitcase weighed as much as a car or something even worse. "Rachel!" I yelled from my window, but she was too far away. Or maybe she didn't want to hear me. She swung the suitcase back and forth, and on the third swing, she threw it as hard as she could into the lake. The sound was so loud. Birds flew away from the trees. Water splashed high. And she just stood there watching as the suitcase floated for a second before starting to sink down. Then she ran back to her car like a monster was chasing her. She started the car. Tires screamed. She was gone. She disappeared down that same dusty road, leaving only dust and silence behind. I couldn't move. 10 seconds passed, 20, 30. My brain was trying to understand what just happened. Rachel, the suitcase, the lake, how scared she looked. Something was terribly, horribly wrong. I felt cold even though it was hot outside. My feet started moving before I could think. I ran faster than I had run in many, many years. My knees hurt. My chest burned. But I didn't stop. I ran down my porch steps, across my yard, onto that dirt road. My slippers kicked up dust clouds. The lake was maybe as far as a football field away. Maybe closer, maybe farther. I don't know. Every second felt like forever. When I got to the water, I was breathing so hard. My heart was beating like a drum in my chest. The suitcase was still there, floating, sinking slowly down. The brown leather was soaked and dark and heavy-looking. I walked into the water without thinking twice. The lake was freezing cold, much colder than I thought it would be. Came up to my knees, then my belly button. The mud at the bottom grabbed at my feet. I almost lost my slipper. I reached out my arms. I grabbed the suitcase handle. I pulled hard. It was so heavy, like it was filled with bricks or something worse. I didn't want to think about worse. I pulled harder. My arms hurt so bad. Water splashed in my face. Finally, the suitcase came closer. I dragged it toward the shore. And then I heard something. Noise. Quiet, muffled, coming from inside that suitcase. My whole body went cold with fear. No, it can't be. Please God, don't let it be what I'm thinking. I pulled faster, harder. I dragged that suitcase onto the wet sand. I fell on my knees next to it. My hands tried to open the zipper. It was stuck wet old. My fingers kept slipping off. Come on, come on, come on, I said through my teeth. Tears started running down my face. I pulled the zipper once. It finally opened. I lifted the top and what I saw made the whole world stop spinning. My heart stopped. I couldn't breathe. My hands covered my mouth so I wouldn't scream. There, wrapped in a wet pink blanket, was a tiny baby girl, so new, so little, so quiet. Her lips looked blue. Her skin was white like paper. Her eyes were shut. She wasn't moving at all. Oh God! God! No, no, no! My hands shook so bad I could barely pick her up. I lifted her out of that suitcase as carefully as I could. She was freezing cold, so cold. She was lighter than a bag of flour. Her little head fit right in my hand. Her belly button cord was still there, tied with regular string, not hospital stuff. Just plain string. Like someone had the baby at home, in secret, without any doctors or nurses. No, 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 I kept saying over and over. I put my ear on her tiny chest. Nothing. Silence. I put my cheek near her nose and then I felt something. A tiny breath, so small I thought I imagined it, but it was real. She was breathing barely, but she was alive. I stood up fast, holding the baby against me. My legs almost gave out. I ran to my house faster than I thought possible. Water dripped everywhere. My feet were bleeding from the rocks, but I felt no pain, only fear, only the need to save this tiny baby shaking against my chest. I burst through my door, screaming. I don't remember what I screamed. Maybe help, maybe God, maybe nothing that made sense. I grabbed my phone with one hand while holding the baby with the other. Called 911. My fingers slipped on the buttons. I almost dropped the phone twice. 911, what's your emergency? A woman's voice said. A baby, cried. I found a baby in the lake. She's not moving right. She's cold. She's blue. Please, please help us. Ma'am, I need you to stay calm. What's your address? I told her where I lived. The words came out all jumbled up. The lady told me to put the baby on something flat. I used my arm to push everything off my kitchen table. Plates, papers, everything crashed down. Nothing mattered. I laid the tiny baby on the table. So small, so breakable, so still. Is she breathing? The operator asked. My voice was high. I did exactly what she said. I grabbed towels from my bathroom. I dried her tiny body with shaking, scared hands. Every second felt like an hour. I wrapped the baby in clean, dry towels. I picked her up again, held her against my chest. I started rocking without thinking. Something deep inside me remembered from when Marcus was a baby. Please stay with me, I whispered to her. Please don't leave. Help is coming. They're coming right now. The minutes until the ambulance came were the longest minutes ever. I sat on my kitchen floor with the baby against my heart. I sang to her. I don't know what song. Maybe the same one I sang to Marcus when he was tiny. Maybe just sounds. I just needed her to know someone was there, that someone was holding her, that someone wanted her to live. The sirens cut through the quiet. Red and blue lights flashed through my windows. I ran to my door. 2 ambulance workers rushed out. A man with white hair and a young woman with her hair in a tight ponytail. She took the baby from me so fast and so gently. She checked her quickly, used a listening tool, listened to her heart. Her face stayed calm, but I saw her body get tense. Very cold body, water in lungs maybe. We need to go now, she said to the man. They put the baby on a tiny bed on wheels, put a breathing mask on her face. Their hands moved fast, connecting wires, beeping machines, things I didn't understand. The man looked at me. You're coming with us. It wasn't a question. I got in the ambulance, sat on a small seat on the side. I couldn't stop staring at that tiny baby surrounded by all that equipment. The ambulance took off fast. The sirens were so loud. Everything outside the windows was a blur. How did you find her? The woman asked while she kept working. In a suitcase. In the lake. I saw someone throw it in. She looked up fast. She stared at me. Then she looked at her partner. I saw something in her eyes, worry, maybe thinking I did something bad, maybe feeling sorry for me. Did you see who did it? I opened my mouth. Closed it again. Rachel. My daughter-in-law. My Marcus's wife. The woman who cried at Marcus's funeral like her whole world ended. The same woman who just tried to drown a baby. How could I say that out loud? How could I believe it myself? Yes, I finally said. I saw who it was. We got to the hospital in less than 15 minutes. The emergency doors flew open. So many people in white and green clothes surrounded that little bed. They were shouting numbers, medical words, orders. They rushed the baby through big double doors. I tried to follow, but a nurse stopped me. Ma'am, you need to wait here. The doctors are working. We need to ask you some questions. She took me to a waiting room. Cream walls, plastic chairs, that hospital smell. I sat down. I was shaking all over. I didn't know if it was from my wet clothes being cold or from shock. Probably both. The nurse sat across from me. She was older, maybe my age. She had kind wrinkles by her eyes. Her name tag said Margaret. I need you to tell me everything that happened, she said softly. And I told her every single detail. From seeing Rachel's car to opening that suitcase. Margaret wrote notes on a tablet. She nodded. She didn't interrupt me. When I finished, she let out a big breath. The police will need to talk to you, she said. This is trying to kill someone. Maybe worse. Trying to kill someone. Those words hung in the air like dark clouds. My daughter-in-law. My son's wife. Killer. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't make sense of it. Margaret put her hand on mine. You did the right thing today. You saved a life. But it didn't feel like that. It felt like I uncovered something terrible. Something that would change everything forever. Something I could never forget. 2 hours went by before a doctor came out. He was young, maybe 35. He had dark circles under his eyes and hands that smelled like soap. The baby is stable, he said. For now. She's in the baby intensive care area. She was too cold and got water in her lungs. Her lungs are hurt. The next 2 days are very important. Will she live? Yes. My voice cracked. I don't know, he said honestly. We're doing everything we can. The police came 30 minutes later. 2 officers, a woman in her 40s with her hair pulled back tight and a younger man writing things down. The woman said her name was Detective Maria Torres. She had dark eyes that seemed to see through lies. They asked me the same questions over and over in different ways. I described the car, the exact time, Rachel's movements, the suitcase, everything. Maria stared at me hard, made me feel guilty even though I did nothing wrong. And you're absolutely sure it was your daughter-in-law? Completely sure. Why would she do something like this? I don't know. Where is she now? I don't know. When did you last talk to her before today? 3 weeks ago. On the day my son died 1 year ago. Maria wrote something down. She looked at her partner with a strange look. We're going to need you to come to the police station tomorrow to tell your story officially. And you cannot contact Rachel at all. Do you understand? He nodded. What would I say to her anyway? Why did you try to kill a baby? Why did you throw her in the lake like garbage? Why? The officers left. Margaret came back with a blanket and hot tea. You should go home. Get some rest. Change clothes. But I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave that baby alone in the hospital. That baby I held against my chest who breathed her tiny breaths in my arms. I stayed in that waiting room. Margaret brought me dry clothes from the hospital, nurse pants and a shirt way too big. I changed in the bathroom. I looked in the mirror. I looked like I aged 20 years in 1 day. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in that plastic chair watching the clock. Every hour I got up and asked about the baby. The nurses said the same thing. Stable, critical, fighting. At 3 a.m, Father Miguel showed up, the priest from my church. Someone must have called him. He sat next to me quietly. He didn't say anything for a long time. Sometimes that's all you need, someone there. Proof you're not alone in hell. God tests us in strange ways, he finally said. This doesn't feel like a test, I said. It feels like a nightmare. He nodded. He didn't try to argue, and I liked that more than any sermon. When the sun started coming up, I knew nothing would be the same again. I had crossed a line. I had seen something I couldn't unsee. And whatever happened next, I had to face it. Because that baby, that tiny person fighting for every breath in the next room, had become my responsibility. I didn't choose it. But I couldn't walk away either. Not after pulling her from the water. Not after feeling her heartbeat against mine. The sunrise came slowly. Light came through the waiting room windows, painting everything orange. I had spent the whole night in that plastic chair. My back hurt. Margaret appeared at 7 with coffee and a sandwich in foil. You need to eat, she said, putting it in my hands. I wasn't hungry, but I ate because she stood there watching. The coffee burned my mouth. The sandwich tasted like nothing. But I chewed. I swallowed. I pretended to be normal. The baby is still stable, Margaret said, sitting next to me. Her body temperature is going up. Her lungs are getting better. These are good signs. Can I see her? She shook her head. Not yet. Only immediate family can. And we don't even know who her family is. Family. That word hit me hard. That baby had to have a family. A mother, Rachel. But she tried to kill her. So who was the father? Where was he? Why hadn't anyone reported a missing baby? The questions piled up in my head with no answers. 9. Detective Maria came back. She was alone this time. She sat across from me with a folder. Her face was hard, searching. She looked at me like I was the bad guy. Betty, I need to ask more questions, she said, opening the folder. I already told you everything. I know, but some things don't match up. Don't match up. The words floated between us like blame. My stomach hurt. What doesn't match up? Maria pulled out a photo. She put it on the little table between us. It was Rachel's car, but in a store parking lot, not by the lake. This photo was taken by a security camera at a grocery store 30 miles from here yesterday at 9:45 in the morning. 9:45. 15 minutes after I saw her by the lake. Impossible. I looked closer at the photo. It was her car, license plate and everything. But that can't be. There must be a mistake, I said. I saw her. I was there. I saw her throw the suitcase. Are you completely sure it was Rachel? How far away were you? I swallowed hard. 100 yards. Maybe more. I saw her mostly from behind. The yellow shirt. The dark hair. The blue car. I was sure, I said, but my voice sounded less sure now. Maria leaned closer. Betty, I need total honesty. What's your relationship with Rachel like? Do you get along? And there it was. The real question. The one I knew was coming since the police showed up. Because we didn't get along well. We never did. From the day Marcus introduced me to her, I knew something felt off. She was too perfect, too calculated, too interested in Marcus's money from his job. We're not close, I admitted. Do you blame her for your son's death? What? My voice was too loud, too defensive. It's a simple question. Do you blame Rachel for Marcus's death? The accident. That's what everyone called it. Marcus was driving home after dinner with Rachel. It was raining hard. The car slipped. He crashed into a tree. Marcus died right away. Rachel walked away with small scratches. It always seemed strange to me. It always seemed too convenient. But I never had proof. Just a heartbroken mother looking for someone to blame. I don't see what that has to do with the baby. It has everything to do with it, Maria said, closing the folder. Because we can't find Rachel anywhere. She's disappeared. Her house is empty. Her phone is turned off. And you are the only person who says they saw her yesterday. Her words felt like ice water. She was accusing me not directly, but it was clear. She thought I made it up. That I found the baby somewhere else and blamed Rachel for revenge. I didn't lie, I said through my teeth. I saw what I saw. Then we need to find Rachel fast. Because if she's that baby's mother, The baby is in serious danger. And if she's not, then we have an even bigger mystery. Maria stood up. She gave me a card with her number. If you remember anything else, any detail, call me. She left, leaving me with more questions than answers. I sat there with the card, wondering if I was going crazy. Had seen Rachel. I was sure of it. But now doubt was creeping in like poison. What if I was wrong? What if it was someone else? What if my sadness and anger made me see what I wanted to see? Father Miguel came back at noon. He held prayer beads in his hands. Should we pray? He asked. I'm not very religious. I never was. But right then I needed something bigger than myself. Something to tell me I wasn't alone. He nodded. We prayed together quietly. The familiar words calmed me, even though I didn't understand how. When we finished, I felt a little less broken. The police think I'm lying, I told him. The truth always comes out, he said, even if it takes time. But we didn't have time. That baby was fighting for her life. And somewhere Rachel was hiding or running or planning something else. At 3 in the afternoon, a different doctor came to see me. A woman this time, older, with thick glasses and a serious look. We need your permission to run tests on the baby, she said. I'm not family. We know, but you're the only responsible person right now. Child Services is coming, but we need to act now. The baby needs blood tests. We need to know if she has any health problems, if she was exposed to drugs, if she has injuries we haven't found. I signed the papers. I didn't even read them all. I just wanted them to do whatever would save her. 2 hours later, the social worker arrived. Karen. She was young. Too young for that job, I thought. Maybe 25. Short hair, gray suit, a professional smile that didn't look real. Mrs. Betty, she said, sitting next to me. I need to ask questions about your situation. I understand you found the baby. The story again. The questions again. But Karen was different. She didn't look at me with suspicion. She looked at me with pity, which felt worse somehow. Do you live alone? She asked. Yes. Do you have steady income? I have my late husband's pension and some savings. Criminal record? No. Mental health issues? Depression? Anxiety? I hesitated. After Marcus died, I took medicine for sadness for 3 months. My doctor said it was normal. That grief sometimes needs medicine help. I stopped when I felt better. I had depression after my son died, I admitted. But it's over now. Karen wrote something down. I couldn't see what. The baby will need a temporary home when she leaves the hospital, she said. If she leaves, Child Services will look for certified foster families. Meanwhile, she'll remain in state care. State care. Those words broke something inside me. That baby I held against my chest, who breathed her first breath of life in my arms, was going to be given to strangers. To the system. To people who would see her as just another case, just another number. What if I wanted to? The words came out before I could stop them. What if I wanted to take care of her? Karen looked surprised, then doubtful. Mrs. Betty, you're 64 years old. You're not a certified foster parent. You have no legal connection to the baby. And you're involved in an active criminal investigation. I didn't do anything wrong. I saved her life. I know, but the system has rules. The child's safety comes first. And frankly, your age and your recent emotional situation are factors we must consider. Felt slapped. Too old, too unstable, too broken. Maybe she was right. Maybe it was crazy to even think about it. But when I closed my eyes, all I saw was that fragile little body. And I knew no one else in the world would love her like I could. That night I went home for the first time in 36 hours. Margaret convinced me. She said I needed to shower, sleep in a real bed. That the baby would be fine. That they'd call if anything changed. I drove home as the sun set. The lake shimmered to my right. I stopped at the same spot where I'd seen Rachel, where I'd pulled out the suitcase. I got out of the car. I walked to the shore. The suitcase was gone. The police took it as evidence. But I could see exactly where it had been. I could see my own footprints in the dried mud. I stood there as darkness fell, wondering if I'd ever know the truth. Wondering if Rachel was watching from somewhere. Wondering what really happened. And then my phone rang. It was the hospital. My heart stopped. "Mrs. Betty," Margaret's voice said. "You need to come back now." I drove back to the hospital, breaking every speed limit. My hands shook on the steering wheel. My heart beat so loud I could hear it over the engine. Margaret hadn't given details on the phone. She just said, "Come back now." Those words were enough to fill my head with the worst thoughts. The baby died. Had to be that. Why else would they call so urgently? She fought for 2 days and her little body gave up. I wasn't enough. I was too late. I parked badly, taking 2 spaces. I ran toward the emergency doors. Margaret waited at the entrance. Her face was serious, but something else too. Something I couldn't read. "She's alive," she said immediately, like she knew what I was thinking. "The baby's alive. But you need to come with me." She led me down hallways I didn't know. We went up to the 3rd floor. We passed the baby intensive care unit. We kept walking. Finally, we reached a small conference room. Inside were Detective Maria, Karen the social worker, and a man I didn't know. He was older, maybe 60. He wore a dark suit and glasses. He looked like a lawyer. "Please sit," Maria said, pointing to a chair. Sat. My legs felt like water. Everyone was staring at me hard, making me want to run away. "We got the results of the baby's DNA test," Maria said. Her words fell like stones in still water. DNA. I didn't understand why they did that. What were they looking for? And I asked when the silence became too much. Maria looked at the man in the suit. He nodded. She opened a folder and took out papers. She put them in front of me. "The baby is a girl. She was born about 3 days ago according to medical tests." Maria paused. "And Betty, she's your granddaughter." The world stopped. The words made no sense. I heard them, but my brain refused to understand. My granddaughter. Impossible. Marcus died 1 year ago. He didn't leave any children. No pregnancy. Nothing. "That's impossible," I whispered. "The results are clear," said the man in the suit. "I'm Dr. Stephen Palmer, a specialist in DNA testing. We ran the tests twice to be certain. The baby shares about 25% of her DNA with you. She is definitely your biological granddaughter. Daughter of your son Marcus. Daughter of Marcus." Marcus. I felt like someone punched me in the chest with a hammer. Marcus had a daughter. A daughter he never knew about. A daughter someone tried to drown in a lake. But how? My voice sounded far away. Marcus died a year ago. Rachel never said anything about being pregnant. "Exactly," Maria said, leaning forward. "Rachel was pregnant during the accident. According to our calculations, she got pregnant about a month before Marcus's death. Which means she knew." The room spun. Rachel knew she was pregnant when Marcus died. Why didn't she tell anyone? Why did she hide the pregnancy for 9 months? Why did she give birth in secret and then try to kill her own daughter? "I don't understand," I said. Tears blurred my vision. Why would she do this? She's her daughter. Marcus's daughter. "That's what we need to find out," Maria said. "But there's more, Betty. I need you to listen very carefully." I held on to the chair. I didn't know what for, but I knew what was coming would be worse. "We've been looking into your son's accident. And there are problems. Big problems." "What kind of problems?" "Marcus's car was checked after the accident. The official report said it was a slip because of rain. But we had it checked again. They found evidence someone messed with the brakes. Someone sabotaged them." The word landed like a bomb. Sabotage. Murder. My son didn't die in an accident. He was murdered. "Rachel," I said. It wasn't a question. She's our main suspect, Maria admitted. But we need proof. And we need to find her. She's completely disappeared. She hasn't used her phone. She hasn't touched her bank accounts. It's like she vanished. I stood up from the chair. I needed to move. I needed air. I walked to the window. Outside, the city sparkled with millions of lights. Normal life. Normal people. While I was trapped in this nightmare. My son, I whispered against the glass. My baby. She killed him. No one answered. There was nothing to say. I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was Karen. There's something else you need to know, she said softly. About the baby. About her future. I turned around. Her eyes were kind but sad. Since the baby is your biological granddaughter, you have legal rights. You can ask for custody. But she raised her hand before I could speak. It will be a long process. There will be evaluations, home visits, psychological interviews. And meanwhile, the baby will stay in state care. No. The word came out like a roar. You're not taking her from me. She's all I have left of Marcus. She's my granddaughter. My blood. I understand, Karen said. Believe me, I do. But the system has rules. And after everything that happened, we need to make sure the baby is safe. She'll be safer with me than with any stranger. Maybe. But that decision isn't mine. It's up to a judge and the child's well-being. Dr. Palmer spoke for the first time since his initial revelation. There's another factor we must consider. The baby suffered severe trauma. Too cold. Near drowning. The next few weeks will be critical for her development. She'll need special care, therapy, constant medical follow-up. I'll do whatever it takes, I said. Anything. Maria stood up. Betty, I need you to understand something. You're not a suspect. We believe your story. But you also can't just keep the baby because she's your granddaughter. There's a legal process. And meanwhile, our priority is finding Rachel. We need your help. How? Think. Did Rachel? It was like she appeared out of nowhere the day she met Marcus. She has a sister, I said suddenly. Up north. Near the mountains. Marcus mentioned her once. He said Rachel grew up with her after their parents died. Maria wrote quickly. Name. I don't know. Marcus never said. It's a start, Maria said. We'll look into it. They all left except Margaret. She stayed with me in that cold, empty conference room. Do you want to see your granddaughter? She asked. I nodded, unable to speak. She took me through security doors to the baby intensive care unit. She had me wash my hands, put on a sterile gown. Then she led me to an incubator in the corner. And there she was. My granddaughter. My Marcus's daughter. So small, so fragile, connected to tubes and wires. But alive. Breathing. Fighting. She had Marcus's dark hair. Marcus's nose. Marcus's long fingers. Can I touch her? I whispered. Yes. Just be gentle. I reached my hand through the opening. I touched her tiny hand. It was so soft, so warm. Her little fingers closed around my finger. A reflex, but it felt like a promise. Hello, little one, I whispered. I'm your grandma. And I promise I'm going to protect you. No one will ever hurt you again. I swear it on your father's memory. Margaret put her hand on my shoulder. She needs a name, she said softly. For the hospital records. Until we find the mother or until a judge decides. Name. Marcus wanted to name his first daughter Emma, after my mother. He told me once during Thanksgiving dinner. If I ever have a daughter, I'll name her Emma. Emma, I said. Her name is Emma. I stayed there all night, sitting by the incubator, holding her hand, singing her the songs I used to sing to Marcus. Promising her a future I didn't know if I could give. But promising anyway. Because now I knew the truth. This baby wasn't a stranger I found by chance. She was my blood. My family. All that was left of. My murdered son. And I wasn't going to let anyone take her from me. Not the system, not Rachel, not anyone. The following days were paperwork hell. I woke up every morning at 5. Showered. I got dressed. I drove to the hospital. I spent the day by Emma's incubator. And in the afternoons, the visits came. Lawyers, social workers, police officers, all with folders, all with questions, all deciding if I was good enough to raise my own granddaughter. Karen showed up on the third day with a list of things I needed to do. She read it in a boring voice like she was reading a cookbook. You'll need a criminal background check, a full psychological evaluation, a medical exam, proof of income, home inspection, personal references from at least 3 people who aren't family, and you need to complete a 40-hour child care course. 40 hours. Like I hadn't raised a son myself. Like I didn't know how to change a diaper or make a bottle. But I said nothing. I just nodded and took the papers she gave me. How long will all this take? Yes. If you're lucky, 6 weeks. If not, 3 months. 3 months. Emma would be in foster homes for 3 months while I jumped through hoops to prove I deserved to raise her. And what about her meanwhile? When she's released from the hospital, she'll go to a certified temporary foster family. She'll receive proper care. You can visit her twice a week under supervision. Twice a week under supervision. Like I was dangerous. Like I wasn't the one who saved her from drowning. That night I called Father Miguel. I needed references. I needed people who would say I wasn't crazy, that I was capable, that I could do this. He came to my house the next day. He sat in my kitchen drinking the same tea I used to make for Marcus when he was a boy. Of course I'll help you, he said. You're one of the strongest women I know. That child is lucky to have you. But I didn't feel strong. I felt old, tired, scared. I was 64 years old. How was I going to chase a 2-year-old when I was 66? How was I going to help her with homework when I was 70? How was I going to be there for her graduation if I made it to 80? I'm too old for this, I said out loud for the first time. Father Miguel looked at me over his cup. Moses was 80 when he led his people to freedom. Age is just a number when there's love involved. I wanted to believe him. I really did. On the 4th day, Margaret taught me how to care for Emma. How to support her little head. How to change her tiny diapers. How to prepare formula to the exact temperature. My hands shook at first. I had forgotten how fragile newborns were. How dependent. How terrifyingly delicate. You're doing wonderful, Margaret would say every time I panicked. But it didn't feel wonderful. Felt like walking on ice. One wrong move and everything would break. On the 5th day, Detective Maria returned with news. We found Rachel's sister, she said. She lives in a small town 100 miles from the border. We went to question her. She hasn't seen Rachel in 3 years. Says they had a fight. That Rachel stole jewelry from her, worth $5,000. Never returned it. Money. It always came back to money with Rachel. Marcus earned good money as an accountant, $60,000 a year. He had savings. A $150,000 life insurance policy. Rachel was the one who would get it. Did she collect the insurance? Yes. Maria nodded. 4 months ago. $150,000 deposited into her account. 2 weeks later, she transferred it all to an offshore account in Panama. We're trying to track it, but it's complicated. $150,000. The value of my son's life. And she hid it in some foreign bank while planning to kill her baby. Why? I said, the question that haunted me every night. Why kill the baby? She could have given her up for adoption. She could have left her at a hospital. Why try to drown her? Maria was quiet for a long moment. There's a theory, she finally said. We've been investigating Marcus's finances. We found something interesting. 2 weeks before he died, he changed his will. He left everything to his future children. Not to Rachel. To his children. The air left my lungs. Marcus knew. Somehow he knew Rachel was pregnant, and he changed his will to protect his daughter. She killed him for money, I whispered. We believe so. And then she found out the money would go to the baby if she was born alive. So she decided to get rid of her too. The pure evil of it left me speechless. She killed my son. She carried the pregnancy to term. She gave birth alone. And then she tried to drown her own baby. All for money. Do you have enough to arrest her? When we find her, yes. But she's still missing. She's smart. She knows we're looking for her. The days turned into weeks. Emma grew stronger. The doctors removed the tubes one by one. She started breathing on her own, feeding on her own, crying with strong, healthy lungs. She was a medical miracle according to the... How do you feel about Rachel? Are you trying to replace Marcus with this baby? That last question made me angry. I'm not replacing anyone. I'm saving my granddaughter. It's different. She wrote something down. I didn't know if it was good or bad. The home inspection was embarrassing. 2 women checked every corner. They opened closets, checked the refrigerator, measured the windows to see if they were safe, counted the smoke detectors, asked about my emergency plan in case of fire. You'll need a certified crib, a changing table, safety gates on all stairs, locks on the cabinets, outlet covers. I spent $1,100 on baby stuff. My pension barely covered my basic needs. I had to use my savings. But I didn't care. Emma was worth it. The child care course was the worst. 15 young mothers and me. They all looked at me like I was the confused grandmother in the wrong class. The teacher was 25. She explained things I already knew with annoying slowness. Babies need to eat every 3 hours. Babies cry when they're hungry or wet. Never shake a baby. I nodded and took notes, even though I wanted to scream that I had raised a son to adulthood, that I knew exactly what I was doing. But I needed that certificate. So I swallowed my pride and pretended to learn. 6 weeks after finding Emma in the lake, Karen appeared at the hospital with a small smile. You've completed all the requirements, she said. The judge will review your case next week. If all goes well, you could have temporary custody in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. After 42 days of paperwork hell, I could finally take my granddaughter home. But that same night, when everything seemed to be getting better, my phone rang. It was Maria. Her voice was tense. Betty, I need you to come to the station now. We found something. Something about Marcus you need to see. I arrived at the police station with my stomach in knots. Maria was waiting at the entrance. Her face was more serious than usual. She led me through narrow hallways to an interrogation room. On the table was a cardboard box. Inside, I recognized Marcus's belongings. His wallet, his watch, his broken phone. The things they returned to me after the accident. What is this? Yes. We finally managed to unlock his phone, Maria said. Our technician worked on it for weeks. And we found something. She pulled out a manila envelope. She opened it and spread several printed sheets on the table. They were screenshots of text messages between Marcus and Rachel, dated 2 weeks before his death. I read the first one. It was from Marcus to Rachel. We need to talk. I know about the baby. Rachel's reply. I don't know what you're talking about. Marcus again. I found the pregnancy test in the trash. Why didn't you tell me? 3-hour silence. Then Rachel. I wasn't ready to tell you. I was scared. Scared of what? I'm your husband. We're going to be parents. This is wonderful. Another silence, then. I don't want to keep it. Felt punched. Kept reading. My hands shook. Marcus. What do you mean you don't want to keep it? Rachel, I'm not ready. I don't want to be a mother. I want to travel, to live, not be stuck with a baby. It's our child. It's a mistake. Don't say that. Please. We can make it work. I'll help you. My mom will help us. I don't want help. I want my life back. The messages grew more intense. Marcus pleading. Rachel resisting. Until I reached the last exchange. The day before the accident. Marcus, I spoke to a lawyer. If you decide not to keep the baby, I'm divorcing you. And if you have her and don't want to raise her, I'll fight for full custody. I'm not going to let you hurt my child. Rachel, you're going to regret this. Marcus, is that a threat? There was no reply. The next day Marcus was dead. I dropped the papers. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. She killed him, I said. She killed him because he was going to protect the baby. That's what we believe, Maria said. And there's more. We checked Rachel's phone records from that week. She made 3 calls to a freelance mechanic, Diego Santos. We brought him in for questioning. And what did he say? Nothing at first. But when we showed him evidence of bank transfers Rachel made to him, $2,000 the day before the accident, he started talking. He admitted she paid him to sabotage the brakes on Marcus's car. Felt sick. Had to sit down. Rachel had planned everything. She hired someone to kill my son and made it look like an accident. Why would Diego do something like that? Debts. Gambling debts. He owed $20,000 to dangerous people. Rachel offered him $2,000 immediately and $3,000 more later. He accepted. He's now under arrest as an accomplice to murder. And Rachel. We have a warrant for her arrest for first-degree murder and attempted murder. Plus a list of other crimes. Conspiracy, fraud, obstruction of justice. She's going to spend the rest of her life in prison. No possibility of parole. The words were sweet as honey. Justice. Finally. The recording worked perfectly. She confessed to everything on Marcus's phone messages. Her lawyer tried to argue that the messages were taken out of context. But the jury saw everything. They had no mercy. 45 minutes of deliberation. Guilty on all charges. When was the trial? I looked out the window, confused. How long was I out? 3 days. You fainted at the station when you read the messages. The stress was too much. They brought you here. You had to stay for observation. But you're okay now according to the doctors. 3 days. I had lost 3 days. I looked around alarmed. Emma. Margaret took care of her, Maria said quickly. And Father Miguel helped. That baby was spoiled by half the hospital staff while you were resting. Over the next few weeks, I recovered slowly. The emotional exhaustion was real. But I pushed through. Margaret kept coming to help with Emma when I felt weak. Father Miguel brought food. Neighbors I barely knew showed up with meals and kind words. You're an inspiration, the lady from across the street said. What you did for that baby. Standing up like that. But I didn't feel inspirational. I just felt like a grandmother doing what any grandmother would do. Protecting her own. 2 months after Rachel's arrest, I had another hearing with the judge. This time was different. This time the judge was smiling as she reviewed the documents. Mrs. Betty, she said, I have reviewed all the reports from the last 6 months. The visits from child services. Emma's medical evaluations. The progress reports. And I must say I'm impressed. My heart beat fast. Emma is thriving under your care. She's meeting all her developmental milestones. She's healthy, happy, loved. And you have proven more than capable despite the challenges. Thank you, Your Honor. Therefore, I'm granting full and permanent custody of Emma to Betty, effective immediately. Furthermore, since the biological mother is incarcerated for life and has lost all parental rights, I authorize adoption proceedings if you wish to proceed. Adoption. To make her legally mine. Not just her custodial grandmother, but her legal mother. Yes, I said without hesitation. Yes, I want to adopt her. Then so it shall be. Congratulations, officially. The gavel fell. And suddenly all the weight I'd been carrying for months lifted. It was official. Emma was mine. No one could ever take her from me. Ever. I walked out of the courthouse with Emma in my arms. She was 8 months old now. Chubby and happy. She smiled, showing 2 little teeth. She laughed when I bounced her. She pulled my hair with her chubby little hands. Margaret was waiting outside with Father Miguel. They hugged me. The 3 of us cried with happiness right there on the courthouse steps. You did it, Margaret said. Against all odds, you did it. That night I made a special dinner. Well, as special as it could be with a baby needing constant attention. I invited Margaret and Father Miguel. We ate roasted vegetables and chicken. We toasted with sparkling cider because none of us drank alcohol. To Emma, Father Miguel said, raising his glass. To her bright future. To Marcus, I said, who's watching over us from somewhere, proud of his daughter. To love, Margaret added, which always wins over evil. We drank. We ate. We laughed. Emma banged on her high chair and squealed with joy, not understanding but feeling the happiness around her. The months turned into years. Emma grew. She started walking at 11 months. Her first word was Gaga for grandma. I cried when she said it. At 2, she was running all over the house. 3, she started preschool. Every milestone was a miracle. Every day a gift. I talked to her about Marcus constantly. I showed her pictures. I told her stories. Your daddy was a good man, I would tell her. Brave. He loved you even before he met you. He changed his whole life to protect you. Daddy hero, Emma would say in her little voice. Yes, my love. Daddy was a hero. And you're going to grow up to be just as good, just as brave, just as loving. I never told her about Rachel. That would come later when she was older, when she could understand. For now, she just needed to know she was loved, that she was wanted, that there were people who fought for her. On Emma's 5th birthday, we had a party in the backyard. We invited all the neighborhood kids. There were balloons, cake, presents. Emma ran among her friends, laughing, so full of life. So different from the blue, still baby I pulled from the lake 5 years ago. Margaret sat next to me on the porch watching the celebration. What are you thinking about? She asked. That day, I admitted. How I could have been 5 minutes later. How I might not have looked out the window at that exact moment. How everything could have been different. But it wasn't. You found her. You saved her. It was meant to be. Or Marcus's doing, I said. Sometimes I think he guided my eyes to the lake that day. That somehow he knew I would be there. That he could trust me to protect his daughter. Maybe, Margaret said. Or maybe you're just an incredibly brave woman who refused to give up. That night, after everyone had gone home, after Emma fell asleep exhausted from all the excitement, I sat alone in the living room. I looked at the pictures on the wall. Marcus as a baby. Marcus at his graduation. Marcus on his wedding day. And next to those photos, new ones. Emma as a newborn in the hospital. Emma taking her first steps. Emma on her first day of school. 2 generations connected by love. Separated by tragedy. United by survival. We did it, Marcus. I whispered to his picture. Your daughter is safe. She's happy. She's growing up strong and good, just like you wanted. And though I knew he couldn't answer, I felt something. Warmth. Peace. As if he were there, proud, grateful, at rest. Maybe you would have given up if you were in my shoes. Maybe you would have thought you were too old, too tired, too broken. Or maybe you would have done the exact same thing. Because that's what love does. It makes you stronger than you ever thought possible. Makes you fight when all seems lost. It makes you find hope in the deepest darkness. I don't know what the future holds. I know there will be challenges. I know there will be hard days. I know raising a child at my age won't be easy. But I also know that every day with Emma is a gift. Every smile. Every hug. Every, I love you, Gaga. If this story touched your heart, if it made you feel something, leave me a comment. Give it a like. Subscribe to Granny's Voice. Means the world to us. Because these stories are about real people facing impossible situations. And they deserve to be heard. They deserve to be remembered. They deserve to matter. And to you, Emma, if you ever hear this when you're older, I want you to know that you were loved before you were even born. That your father died protecting you. That I would have done anything to save you. And that every second of these years with you has been worth every sacrifice. You are my reason, my purpose, my second chance at being a mother. And I wouldn't change a thing. Because on that terrible morning when I saw that suitcase sink into the water, I didn't just save a baby. I saved a piece of my son. Save hope. I saved the future. And now, watching you grow, watching you laugh, watching you become the amazing person you're meant to be, I know it was all worth it. every sleepless night, every doctor's visit, every moment of fear and doubt. It was all worth it. Because you, my darling Emma, are living proof that love is stronger than evil, that good can triumph over bad, that even in the darkest moments, there is light, there is hope, there is a reason to keep fighting. So here we are 5 years later, you and me, grandmother and granddaughter, survivor and protector, two souls bound together by tragedy, held together by love. And I promise you, as long as I have breath in my body, I will protect you. I will love you. I will make sure you know every single day how precious you are, how wanted you are, how deeply, completely, unconditionally loved you are. Because that's what grandmothers do. That's what mothers do. We fight. We sacrifice. We endure. Not for glory. Not for recognition. But because when you hold that tiny life in your arms and feel that heartbeat against your chest, you just know that you would move mountains, cross oceans, face any danger, overcome any obstacle, all for that one precious soul. So thank you for listening to my story, our story, Emma's and mine. I hope it reminds you that it's never too late to fight for what matters, that age is just a number when love is involved, that miracles do happen, that even when everything seems lost, there is always, always hope. And if you're facing your own battle right now, your own impossible situation, remember this. You are stronger than you think, braver than you believe, more capable than you imagine. Don't give up. Keep fighting. Keep hoping. Keep loving. 'Cause you never know. The life you save might not just be someone else's. Might be your own too. When I pulled Emma from that lake, I didn't just save her life. She saved mine too. She gave me purpose when I had none, hope when I was drowning in despair. A reason to wake up every morning when all I wanted to do was give up. So yes, I saved her. But in many ways she saved me right back. And that's the beautiful thing about love. It's never one-sided. It's never just giving or just taking. It's a circle, flow, a dance between two souls who need each other equally. Emma needed me to survive. And I needed her to keep living, to find meaning after losing Marcus, to discover that even in our darkest hour, there can be light, there can be joy, there can be new beginnings. 5 years ago I thought my life was over, that with Marcus gone, I had nothing left to live for. But I was wrong. So beautifully, wonderfully wrong. 'Cause Emma was waiting. Not born yet, but already loved by her father. Already protected by his final act of changing that will. Already destined to find her way into my arms. And now, watching her blow out those 5 candles on her birthday cake, watching her face light up with pure joy, I understand something I didn't before. Life isn't a straight line. It's full of curves and turns and unexpected detours. Sometimes it takes us to dark places. Places we never imagined we'd have to go. But if we keep moving forward, if we keep believing, if we keep our hearts open to possibility, those dark roads can lead us somewhere beautiful. Somewhere we never expected but desperately needed. Emma is my somewhere beautiful. My unexpected blessing. My second chance. And I will spend every remaining day I have making sure she knows how extraordinary she is. Not because of what she survived, but because of who she is. A smart, funny, kind, beautiful little girl with her father's eyes and her father's heart. A little girl who laughs easily and loves deeply. Who runs to me every day after preschool with her arms wide open, ready for a hug. Who tells me I love you, Gaga, at least 20 times a day. Who makes every single sacrifice, every single hard moment, every single fear worth it. So if you take anything from my story, let it be this. Love is worth fighting for. Children are worth protecting. And it's never, ever too late to become someone's hero. I'm 69 years old now. My back hurts most days. My knees creak when I stand up. My energy isn't what it used to be. But when Emma takes my hand and says, "Come play with me, Gaga," I find strength I didn't know I had. When she's scared at night and calls for me, I move faster than I have in years. When she needs me, age doesn't matter. Tiredness doesn't matter. Nothing matters except being there for her. And I will be. For as long as I possibly can. And when I can't anymore, when my time comes, I'll go. Peacefully. Knowing I did everything I could. Knowing I loved her with everything I had. Knowing I kept the promise I made to Marcus that day by the lake. To protect his daughter. To give her the life he wanted for her. To make sure she knows she was loved from the very beginning. So thank you, Marcus, for trusting me with this precious gift. Thank you for loving Emma enough to protect her even after you were gone. Thank you for being the hero you always were. And thank you, Emma, for giving this old woman a reason to keep going. For filling my house with laughter again. For reminding me that miracles do happen. That hope is real. That love conquers all. Always. Forever. No matter what. This is our story. The story of how a terrible moment became a beautiful beginning. Tragedy transformed into triumph. How loss led to love. And how one grandmother and one granddaughter found each other against all odds. And learned that together they could face anything. Survive anything. Overcome anything. Because that's what family does. That's what love does. It makes the impossible possible. The unbearable bearable. The unthinkable survivable. So here's to second chances. To unexpected blessings. To fighting for what matters. To never giving up. To love that refuses to quit. And to all the grandmothers out there who are raising their grandchildren, who are fighting their own battles, who are proving every day that age is just a number and love has no limits. You are heroes. Every single one of you. And your grandchildren are blessed to have you. Just like Emma is blessed to have me. And I am blessed beyond measure to have her. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being part of our journey. And remember, if you ever see something that doesn't feel right, trust your instincts. Quickly. Be brave. 'Cause you might just save a life. You might just become someone's miracle. You might just discover that you're stronger than you ever imagined. God bless you all. And remember to subscribe to Granny's Voice for more stories that matter. Stories that inspire. Stories that remind us all of what's truly important in this life. Love, family, hope, and the courage to fight for what's right. No matter the cost.